Well, memories can fade with time, but pictures are forever.
And there's a very special collection of photographs that clearly shows our city's growth and progress through the years.
As we continue our special series of reports on the Anchorage Centennial celebration, we go back in time tonight through the camera lens of a man who shared his love for Alaska and the city of Anchorage with the entire world.
We actually have a great history of photography.
In the basement of the Anchorage Museum.
His collection is right here.
Tucked away in safe storage.
It's a great collection.
There are dozens of boxes.
So we can just kind of peek through.
That hold a treasure trove of memories and moments.
His collection was really large.
Glimpses of most of Anchorage's first 100 years on film.
We estimate there's about 150,000 images in his collection.
The collection is from Steve McCutcheon, lifelong Alaskan and professional photographer. He was born in Cordova in 1911. His family moved to the Ship Creek tent city in 1915 so his dad could work on the railroad.
He knew Alaska backwards and forwards.
Steve learned photography in the late 30s, and for the next 60 years he captured Alaska's major milestones through his camera lens.
He never was without a camera, and he never stopped taking pictures.
Gloria McCutcheon, Steve's wife of 37 years, says documenting Alaska's growth and development, especially in the city of Anchorage, was his passion.
And I think that he was very aware that this was a once-in-a-lifetime thing and that he wanted to do it. Well, of course, and he loved it.
Steve McCutcheon captured on film many of Anchorage's big events. Many of the pictures you've seen of the 1964 earthquake were taken by Steve. His own little camera store on 4th Avenue, Max Photo Service, was destroyed. He snapped this picture of a giant flag on the old federal building on 4th Avenue with a 49th star pinned to it when Congress approved statehood.
Oh, he was a delegate to the Constitution, elected at large because he had been all over.
And when Alaska's state constitution was created, Steve was there to help write it and record history in the making.
I think we're unique in that we are the only state that has a pictorial record of writing their constitutions, thanks to Steve.
But along with all of those big historical moments, Steve also took thousands of pictures of just normal places around the city of Anchorage. And because he did, we can now see just how much our city has changed through the years. This is the intersection of 4th Avenue and E Street today. But this is how it looked when Steve captured the street scene back in 1947, with a smartly uniformed traffic cop keeping order. Just down the street, 4th Avenue in front of Old City Hall as we know it today, and the same spot that Steve photographed in August of 1957. Parking downtown was already an issue. This was the John Campbell home that Steve captured in the winter of 1945, near 6th Avenue between C and D. So what's there now? Well, if you've ever been to Nordstrom, you've been to that same spot. And you know that hill on Gamble Street near the Sullivan Arena? This is what Steve's camera saw in the summer of 1962. Not much around back then. Steve McCutcheon was also a pilot and took thousands of aerial photos. The Northern Lights Boulevard of today is a hustling and bustling thoroughfare. But if you look at this photo from 1956, that little thin line is Northern Lights Boulevard under construction. A lot has changed since. And can you guess which part of town this is? Hard to tell because there's only a handful of houses. It's Fireweed Lane and Spinard Road in a photo taken by Steve way back in 1946. And this was downtown Anchorage back in 1956. The Hotel Captain Cook would be in the middle of the scene today.
All the slides that are now at the museum were in this room because this room was kind of a vault, and those pictures are kind of one of a kind.
When he was in his 80s, Steve McCutcheon spent countless hours in his office at the house along Campbell Lake that he built back in the 60s, performing one last task to show his love for Alaska.
You could tell it was coming to the end of his life, and he was down here labeling these pictures. And I said, Steve, come on, get out. And he said, but I'm not finished.
Steve used an old manual typewriter that is still there today and handwritten notes to catalog and organize the thousands of film negatives and slides he took through the decades. He wanted to make sure the job got done so he could pass his collection on to the Anchorage Museum before his time in Alaska was up.
No, it's highly significant because He took the time to take all the photographs, to preserve them himself, to label them, and then to give them to the Anchorage Museum to preserve them for Alaska's history.
Steve McCutcheon passed away in 1998 at the age of 89. He left behind a legacy of images of the past that will live on well into Anchorage's next 100 years. And if you'd like to see more of Steve McCutcheon's photographic record of Anchorage through the years, just go to KTUU.com and look on the trending banner on the homepage for Anchorage Centennial. Our web team has set up a really interesting special before and after photo section where you can slide back and forth between pictures of then and now.
Oh,
and Maria,
I love that.
I spent several hours at the Anchorage Museum with their help, and want to thank the Anchorage Museum and Alaska Geographic, going through Steve McCutcheon's collection of slides and negatives. I only scratched the surface in this report. There are so many. No one knows for sure exactly how many photographs he took through his lifetime. One estimate has it up over 250,000, possibly 500,000.
Well, I'm glad you at least shared that with us. There's a lot of time going through those photos. Thank you to the Anchorage Museum again. Yes, amazing.